So I'm not quite sure why we're here today because I've already spoken with them once in person, just trying to be neighborly and express my concerns of what's happening. First of all, we have 3 kids. We moved to the neighborhood December 2013, and we started having issues with their dog 2014. Once the weather broke, the initial first time we saw the dog was we were driving down the street, and Stuart was on the sidewalk, not on his side of the sidewalk, but on the across the street with the dog. The dog was off a leash, and he was sitting there, and he was doing some kind of command thing with the dog, training the dog, I guess. We were driving through, so we noticed it. We drove on through. We're still new to the area. We drove on through when we were going. That was probably about around May. Later on, Mayish, June-ish, I'm coming through the neighborhood, and he's out there again. The dog is not on a leash. The dog runs into the street. I stop. Of course, it's a residential area, so I wasn't going fast. I stop. He calls his dog comes back or whatever. I go on through. Okay, now I know that there's a German Shepherd in the neighborhood, amongst other dogs. There's other dogs in the neighborhood. There's a German Shepherd and a dog, and this guy seems to, let him off the leash. Okay, July 2014. My husband was out washing the car. Me and my kids were outside. My oldest son got not a new bike, but just upgraded. We had an adult bike that he finally was able to ride, so he wanted to try it out. Of course, I wanted to, get a little bit of exercise, so I'm walking up the street, he's riding his bike. They're outside with their dog, and they're doing whatever they're doing in their yard. The dog is outside again, not on a leash. As we are walking up the street, the dog can see us. We can see the dog. They cannot see us. The dog takes off of their property, makes it all the way into so their house is on the right-hand side. We're coming down the street on the left-hand side where the houses are on the left. Their dog takes off across the street towards us. Now, at this point, my son is scared, and so am I. I don't know this dog. The dog's ears are up, tail's up. I already know what aggression looks like. So I shout, "Hey, stop." When I do that, they are alarmed, and they're like, he yells, "Oh, what's going on?" And she's like, "I didn't know somebody was over there." So then they start calling for their dog to come back. Their dog goes back. Okay, we are no longer interested in walking up the street. We turn around. My husband's looking up the street because it's a cul-de-sac, so he can see up the street. He can see the dog in the street. I go on back home. Okay, at this point, we discuss it, we talk about it. I think I talked to, express what had happened to one of the neighbors or whatever. And my father, who has been, we've had dogs all our lives growing up, what should I do? Because I didn't want to, I'm just getting there, so I don't want to cause any friction, although my children need to be safe. So he said, well, try to be neighborly about it. Don't just go call ACP, Animal Control. Don't go call them. I'm not going to waste you guys' time. You've been here long enough. Don't go call them. Go over there and talk to them. Let them know your concern. Anybody in their right mind with children would have to understand, your concern, and you have a valid reason to be concerned. So didn't want to go knock on the door. Didn't want to intrude. I figured he's out there a lot. I'll wait until I see him again, and when I see him, I'll stop in the car and, say what I have to say. I don't want to be confrontational. So I'm out there one day, call my father, "Hey, he's out there, should I do it today?" He's like, "Yeah, it's a nice day. Just go over and introduce yourself and let him know, what your concern is." I did that. I stopped. I said, "Hey, can I speak to you for a second? How you doing? Live down the street. I have some concerns. I have some children who are school age, who their bus stop." Okay, so our house is in the cul-de-sac. Their house is on the main street, which leads to the cul-de-sac, and the bus stop is at a corner 2 blocks away. So my children have to walk to the bus stop every day. I have a 5-year-old, an 8-year-old, and an 11-year-old. My 5-year-old is in kindergarten. The 8-year-old is in third grade, and the 11-year-old is in middle school, 6th grade. So I said, we're new to the area. I'm very concerned. Your dog, I noticed your dog is out here without a leash, and not too long ago, your dog approached me and my son in an aggressive manner, and the fact that they have to walk to school every day, I do work, he works. So my oldest, my middle school child, he's home when the little two get home. But the middle school, he has to walk to school. And this is a concern for me because on the way to school and coming home from school, one, he's going to be scared of your dog. Your dog looks mean, it looks aggressive, it's a German Shepherd. And 2, he's a child. So I need to make sure, this is not going to happen as he walks from school every day. He proceeds to tell me that, oh, they'll be fine. You know, this dog is not aggressive to people, only to other dogs. It's not going to attack your son. One, nobody can ever tell me that. As a mother, you can't tell me no dog, your dog, you can't think for your dog. You don't know what can happen. We had a German Shepherd growing up. The dog never bothered anybody. My son had a friend, my brother had a friend over, and they were in the yard playing, and just that day, he lounged at the little boy because he felt that there was something that he needed to protect. And the dog had never done anything before. So I already know through many instances, you cannot tell me what your dog is going to do. So as he said that, I said, okay, you know what? Let me continue to talk because I want to be neighborly about this. I said, well, you know, and I explained that story to him. She's not speaking at this point. She's not even over there with us. I was talking to him because I see him more with the dog. She walks up, she doesn't say hello, no friendliness, just what's going on, and never says anything to me. So I proceeded to talk to him, thinking that he is the owner. I said, you know, it's a concern for me. They're going to be walking, and you know, I really want to talk to you about it because I'm really alarmed, and he's going to be alarmed. His workaround was have them stay on that side of the street, tell them do not run, and don't make any sudden moves. That's not okay. Your workaround should be, I will keep my dog on a leash. I will not have him outside against county laws and have him outside to be able to run across the street. He explained, I said, well, you know, I can assure you that my children are never going to be out here playing or running up the street or maybe running late for their bus and running to catch their bus or make a sudden move. And definitely if your dog is off a leash and he crosses the street, they're going to get alarmed. And they may run no matter what I tell them. I'm not going to be out here every time. He was like, well, you know, what it is we wash the car and we do things outside, and the dog likes to be outside. One, they have a fenced-in yard. I don't know why the dog can't go in the back of the fence. Two, that's fine, but your dog is not on a leash in the front yard while you're washing the car. He said, oh, well, he likes to play in the water. Your dog's likes don't supersede my child's safety. So I then said to him, well, you know, this is still a concern, and he was just saying that, you know, well, what time does your kid go to school? So I have 3 different kids. The bus don't pick them all up at the same time. So I'm like, well, there's different times, but on top of that, they still have to come home. So he was saying he was going to leave the dog in specifically at that time in the morning. Well, what about when they get home at 3 and 4 in the afternoon and on just any old occasion? I said, in my mind, I'm thinking, there's no way we should have to live like that, or they should have to live like that, where they're worried about going up the street if they want to go play and it's not school time. If they're off a day, they should know that that dog up the street is not going to lunge at them, charge at them, or anything like that. Everybody else has to keep their dog on a leash, and if they don't, and they're coming at me aggressively or my child, I'm going to report them too. I'm not going to wait until these other cases we heard where somebody's bitten a finger, face. My child means more than that to me, and I would hope anybody in this room, child would mean more. So, so that conversation ended. I saw I wasn't getting anywhere. He did say he would keep them in the morning time when the buses come. That doesn't include 2-hour delay days or if it's snow and it's a delay, but he said he would do that. And I said, okay, I have to take him at his word, so I'll watch to see. Well, for a month, things were fine. For a month, things were fine. August 2014, and my husband will attest to this, an elderly man was walking through the neighborhood. A lot of people walk through the neighborhood, run through the neighborhood, walk their dogs. Their dog was off the leash again. The dog went after the elderly man. The elderly man ran, or not ran, he couldn't run per se, but he tried to hurriedly get away. And I won't go any further than that because he actually spoke to the elderly man and he saw that. There was an incident with a hearing impaired gentleman. He lives at 7854, and the dog actually went after him and his 2 dogs. Okay, again, off the leash. This dog is continually off the leash. Then on September, I'm sorry, I forgot. There were 2 incidents in September. And I also have, I don't know if you need to make a copy of it, but this is from my neighbor. He's one of my witnesses, but my neighbor as well. The dog lunged at her and her daughter. Do I need to read this, or do you guys just want to read it? The incident what happened with her and her daughter. Yes, it is notarized, yes. She got it notarized. So I can read it, or...
It'd probably be faster for her just to read it.
That's fine.
Oh.
Okay.
My God.
So
Do you
let
know
me...
who she had signed that letter?
So let me tell you...
Melanie Rodenhouse.
Should I keep talking or stop? Okay. So, so in September, the incident happened where my son was on his way to school, and okay, they started school middle of August. So now September, we're into September. I'm like, okay, well, he's been keeping his word. The dog hasn't been out except for that incident with the elderly man. The dog hadn't been out. The dog hadn't been out since then. My son's walking to school, the dog comes after him. He said that she was out there, but she didn't realize he was walking up the street, because even though I don't think it's right that they should have to stay on the side, I do for their own safety. Hey, you guys, you know what, just walk up that side. I don't want to have you walking past their house. Stay on the other side of the street. The bus stop is actually on the other side of the street, but they have to, check this out, they have to go up this side of the street on the left side, and then not cross over until they get up to, so now they have to endanger themselves with crossing the street where cars are coming, because I don't want them walking around the cul-de-sac on this side where they live up to their bus stop. So the lady, Sarah calls for the dog. The dog gets all the way to him, because of course he screamed, and she calls for the dog, and they get the dog. Again, none of these instances have we got an apology, oh, I'm sorry to hear that, none of that. My son didn't, he came home, of course, well, he has a phone. He texted me what happened, I made sure he got on the bus, and then he got to school. And you know, of course, that evening we made sure that someone was there to make sure he didn't have to walk past them, just in case they were going to let the dog out again off the leash. He gets home, and this is when I decide to write the letter. Then a week later, the neighbor, her daughter's walking the dog, her daughter and son, I'll read what she says. She says, to whom this may concern. In September 2014, my older sister, well, I'm sorry, this is her, okay, so what they told us is when we called, my son didn't have to come because he's a minor. Her son didn't have to, you know, attest because they're minors. We could attest for them. And this is the letter that her son wrote, but she gave to me because her son was the one, her son and daughter were the one walking. My older sister Serena and I were taking our golden retriever Nala for a walk. Serena was holding her leash since I am not strong enough to hold her back if she pulls too hard on the leash. Our next door neighbor was returning home with her dog on the same side of the street. We were walking on across from Cooper's, which is their dog, the dog's house. Cooper was already standing intently and on the edge of the sidewalk watching the neighbor and her dog walking, but did not cross the street to pursue them. As we and our next door neighbor got closer, and since she was already 2 houses past Cooper's, she crossed the street so she wouldn't have to interact with them. Shortly after this, Cooper began barking at us and ran across the street and confronted not only Nala, which is the dog, but myself as well. Not having been around confrontational dogs before, my sister Serena, which is her daughter, aware how to behave around them, was able to help me. Had Serena not been there, I would have started to run, which would have been the wrong thing to do, as Cooper would have chased me. With a firm voice and clearly direction manner, Serena told Cooper to sit several times, but he made no apparent attempt to respond to commands. In the meantime, he kept growling and barking both at me and Nala, our dog. We have been in similar situations with Cooper before, although it was not as escalated as this one, and I have not known him to bite anyone. Cooper is not a small dog and easily weighs as much or more than I and Nala, our dog. I can see how people who do not know Cooper would react in a different manner. Nala is very playful and does not mind roughhousing with other dogs, but it is clear that Cooper's intention was not to play, and Nala was very nervous. It was not easy for Serena, having recently had a C-section, her daughter just had a baby, a C-section, to hold back the dog as well as get in between myself and Cooper. And while I know our circumstances may not have been typical, we should not have to be worried about situations like these. While I am not sure of the exact timeline, it did take quite some time for Cooper's owners to come out and address the situation. In all, it may have only been a minute or two. They were not in the front yard with him. I do not know if they were in the garage or the house. I do not blame Cooper for his actions, as I know he is only acting instinctually. His owners, however, should have him on a lead if they were going to have him in the front yard. I hope that this letter will help them to take better responsibility for Cooper so that he does not find himself in further trouble in the future. I must say that they also called Animal Control to file a case, but because my case was already open, they just took down the message, said they were going out to do the first initial attempt, which they did, and they said no one, I spoke with Officer Serena, no one was home when they tried to go out the first time, and so she just kind of added her story into the case I had already filed. I will also say, when he was telling me that the dog wouldn't hurt kid. I said, well, you know, what's some history about him? Have you had him since birth? No, we didn't have him since birth, and we're actually working out, you know, he's dog aggressive, and we're really trying to work with that, but he's very dog aggressive, and we're working on it, is what he told me, which would make sense as why he's out there and we see him training. He also has a golf cart that he rides the dog around on throughout the neighborhood. This dog, they treat it like it's a person, and I believe that's why they think it's okay to have the dog out there with no leash. They have also told me that we've been around here for years. We've always done this. Nobody's ever said anything, and that's the problem. Nobody speaks up, but my kids are important, and I will speak up, and if this day comes again, hopefully no one gets hurt, because that's all I'm worried about right here. I don't want to be friends with them. I want them to do what the law says. I follow the rules. You should have to, too, and there's no entitlement here. So hopefully the day comes. Well, I'm sorry, if this day does come again, you'll see me right here again. Anything for my children. So, and I'll let him speak on what happened with the elderly gentleman.
Well, I was returning home from work, and as I'm coming down the street, I see the dog barking and circling a man that was jogging in the neighborhood. And she's trying to get the dog, and the dog is running around. She's running around the man trying to get a hold to the dog, and he's 2 houses up from their house. So every time I see the dog, he's never on the leash. I wouldn't say he's an aggressive dog, because when my wife first brought me to my attention, I said, well, I see the dog all the time. He ride him on the golf cart. He don't seem like he's an aggressive dog. So maybe if you talk to him, he'll understand that you need to have him on the leash, because my kids are scared of dogs, and he's kind of big. So every time I see the dog, he's loose. And when I walk my dog, I try to see if the dog is out, because I don't want my dog to end up fighting with his dog, because he's not on the leash, and he can easily come right off the property into the street, and to the other side of the street. So it's just, I would hope that they could just put the dog on the leash and not have him so free. But every time I see the dog, he's always loose. And they have a motorhome, and he's out there cleaning the motorhome, and he's inside, and the dog is on the other side of the street, up. He throws the toys in other people's yard, and the dog goes and get it and come back. So I just think they're just too relaxed with the dog. So any situation can arise where he can end up biting somebody. Like, I was just driving down and seeing the man, and he still, when she got the dog or whatever situation was, he came jogging down the end of the street, and I was cleaning some stuff out of my car, and he was like, oh, and I said, are you all right? He said, I didn't think I was going to make it away, but I guess I'm fine. So I asked him, I said, well, are you going to do anything about it? Oh, I guess I'm fine this time, so, but next time if something happens, I'll report it. I said, I think you should report it, because he shouldn't be able to run up to you like that 2 houses away, and you're just jogging in your neighborhood trying to get some exercise.
And now that man goes a different way. So that's what normally happens. I guess that's why they've been able to do it. People instead don't want to deal with it, so they go another way. But we live down that street, so we have to go back and forth down the street. And I'm not going to run from it. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm following the laws. Everybody should have to follow them.
Okay. All right.
Good afternoon, board members. Thank you for your time. I will start off this conversation by saying what we have here is fraud. And I will be filing a claim in the district court for fraud, and I will be suing Ms. Harrod for damages. I've never seen her until today. I had one occasion to see her over the summer when I did walk outside and I saw her in her car having a conversation, and she did express her concerns about her children walking the bus. And she was actually told that Cooper was a friendly dog, and she was actually encouraged to bring her children up and actually meet the dog. Cooper is a 120-pound, 3-year-old German Shepherd who we have had in our home since he was 6 weeks old. The deaf gentleman that she's talking about who lives at 7851 is in my home. He attended Cooper's puppy shower with his 2 dogs. So there is no fear there with this gentleman or his family with Cooper. There is no fear of Cooper in the neighborhood. With regards to Cooper in the morning, Stu leaves for work at 5 o'clock every morning and works for Northrop Grumman. Alexandra goes to Mount of Sales in Catonsville, and she has to be at school at 7:45. There is never a time in the morning when Cooper is outside running the yard. I have a 6-foot privacy fence. Cooper does his business in the backyard. If he's out front, yeah, you know what? He might be off a leash. He's a well-trained dog. He comes by command. We're out front. There has never been an occasion where that dog has been out front. I have a photograph, Angel, that you can give to the panel of the crate that Cooper goes in when he goes in the mornings. 7:15 every morning. He's in his crate. We don't usually get home until between 3:30 and 5 o'clock, depending on the activities she has at school or whether or not we have stuff going on at work. We have lived in this house and in this neighborhood for 13 years. I walk Cooper every day. Everybody in the neighborhood knows Cooper, and they greet him, and he's friendly with everybody. I'm not real sure. I'm answering the complaint, the affidavit of complaint here that Ms. Harrod filed that said at 7:30 in the morning on September 26th, Cooper aggressively approached her son. Again, you know, I will attest that this is filed fraudulently because at 7:15, Cooper's in his crate and Alexandra and I are leaving for school. That happens Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. School year started the 1st of August. Actually the end of August. So September 26th, we were well on our way to school at 7:30 in the morning. I have other photographs and testimonials from neighbors and friends who can attest to Cooper's behavior and his character. I do have a 37-foot motorhome, and we travel all across the country. If I had an aggressive dog, I don't think we'd be able to put Cooper in a variety of situations and environments where we could be able to do the things that we do. I mean, we're in campgrounds and, you know, dog parks and all kinds of different environments. Cooper goes everywhere with us. I mean, he's not just a dog. He is a member of our family. He's a social dog. I mean, in the summertime and when the weather breaks, we sit at Yogi Castle at Arundel Mills and we have ice cream. People come out and sit with their kids and they have ice cream with the dog. We just took Cooper and we spent the day at the World of Pet Expo. You know, I mean, if I had some sort of dog that was aggressive, we couldn't do those kinds of things. Since Cooper was 6 weeks old, he's attended all of her school functions. She runs track, she plays softball. I mean, he goes everywhere with us. We don't have an issue with the dog. And again, I can't reiterate enough, and I told Officer Bieber when this happened, it supposedly these are incidents that happened. An affidavit of complaints filed then in September. It was probably the week before Thanksgiving when we were privy to all of this. So this is something, again, is fraudulent, and I will be taking further court action against the Harrods in that regard. You know, I came in here, you know, wanting to be a nice, neighborly, you know, you got an issue with the dog, please, we want to address it. Like I said, we've lived here 13 years, you're new to the neighborhood, you got the wrong dog. It's not Cooper. For some was riding her bike, again, it wasn't Cooper. Cooper's not going to attack you. Did I leave anything out?
And all these conversations we had with them,
Yeah.
never happened. The only conversation I had with her
Was
when
standing
she
at
was
the car.
standing at the car.
Yep, and I walked out. And I overheard him say, bring your children up. I encourage it.
I invited them to come up.
Cooper loves to play ball, and we do. We play ball in the yard. But again, it's fraud. I do have other photographs, and I do have testimonials from neighbors and friends to attest to Cooper's character, and I also do have a variety of photographs in many different environments and situations that we've put him in.
These don't look like they're
And I
notarized.
actually addressed,
to be
I'm still
notarized?
speaking, I actually addressed with
they're
Officer
not
Bieber
notarized.
when she brought these when she brought this to our attention, that she also knew, and she probably has it in her report, that I stated to her at that time that I felt that this was fraud.
Okay. Can I say something before you?
Very quick.
Okay, so I just wanted to, I'm not even going to address a lot of the things she said because, as you heard her, she has the dog out there on a leash, without a leash. I'm not contesting that maybe he gets along with her friends or families or the neighbors he knows. He does not know me. He does not know my children. I also have statements from other, notarized statements. I could have brought any pieces of paper from anyone about character witness or statements about their dog.
There's been
and
no
their
issue
fear.
with your
Well,
son,
I don't
with
get
your
that.
family,
I
or
don't
with
get
your
that.
dog.
One at a time.
Ignorance.
Don't even.
What I'm saying is, I could have brought a bunch of papers about their dog and the fear that people have in the neighborhood. You can't speak to someone's fear and say there's no fear in the neighborhood when you don't know everybody in the neighborhood. I'm telling you right now, I'm scared of that dog. I'm telling you right now, all 3 of my kids are scared of that dog. So at this point, all I want to say is this is a notarized statement. This actually happened. It is true in fact, and they have admitted that they are breaking the law. They have a dog out there off a leash. I have no problem with anything else. You can take me for fraud because I'm going to fight till the end for my kids' safety.
You will have
so
fraud
do that.
claim
I know
filed
what I'm
against
saying
you.
is true. And at the end of the day, you need to keep your dog on a leash. That's if that's not a law, then fine. Tell me.
It's not
but
a
it is
law.
a law, and you need to keep your dog on a leash. And
If
the
your
first
dog
time
is-
something happens, they're going to be saying, "Oh, we had no idea." No.
If your dog is off the property,
Dog's not off the property.
See, that's the
but if
problem.
it leaves the property,
There's photograph there. You actually can see the picture of Cooper walking off the property. He's on a leash.
this is not every day.
No, it's not. And she said she
Dog's
never had
in
met
my
me
yard.
until
The
today.
dog is not on a leash.
She said
He's
she
in
never
my
had seen me until
property.
today.
On your property, he does not
He is
need
on
to
my
be
property, not on a leash.
He
He
does
is
not
on my
need to be
property.
on the
I have a
lead.
picture there of him off my property on a leash.
He does not need to be on a lead.
In
so
my
long as
property.
he's on the owner's property.
The minute he steps off, he needs to be on a leash.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you cannot
Did you see the
control your
picture?
dog, then
Did you
you
see
need
the
to have your
picture?
dog on a leash. But she did say she had
It's
never
fraud.
seen me until today. Then she said, "Oh, I saw her in the car." I didn't say I had many conversations with him.
Okay.
I've only had one,
Okay,
and that was in the car.
we're gonna go.
I'm not arguing with her. I'm just don't want to say whatever.
Whatever she wanted to say.
No, she's not going. Who's taking off work to sit up here? For what?
We have met, we have a unanimous decision that we are going to uphold the animal running at large and the public safety threat. If you're not happy with this, you can take it to the district court, but that is our decision.
Okay.
Thank you.